This is so weird.
It's been a while.
It's been so long.
And hello, and welcome to Khyber Shards, a 5th edition actual play show set in the Eberron campaign world. Hi, everyone. I know that
Hello.
it hasn't actually been a long time for all of you, but for us, we finished that like at the end of June or something. So it's been a really long time since all of us were in a call together. So that's fun and exciting. And Colin's in an entirely different location in his apartment.
Whole new person. Whole new
Eric's
person.
Eric's wearing plaid shirts again.
I've regressed.
Going college mode.
And that's the only life updates.
That's the end.
recorded.
Nothing else has happened.
Nothing
since we recorded the finale.
Nothing
Yeah.
else.
We
Nothing
covered all
else.
the big events. I'm glad we got that.
Substance.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see y'all.
There are more little Caseys in the world.
There are.
That's true. I'm not pregnant, but I am a mom of 2.
Look at
Hooray.
you go.
Huzzah.
Now with 100% more baby.
It feels like more than 100% though.
Yeah, I bet so. Yeah, I bet so. All right. Well, we are splitting this in 2. We're going to do a player character focused KSA today. And then later I'll record a GM focused one, and I'll probably drop that one on Monday in our usual Khyber Shards slot. Oh, I haven't had to do this in a long time. And it's school again, so I'm talking during the day and using up my ability to enunciate apparently. Yeah, so we're going to dive in and just get going. So we start with some questions from Trevor. I think this is Trevor's first time. This is so I know Trevor. This is Trevor's first set of questions for a KSA, and Trevor binge watched to be able to watch the last episode on the day that it dropped.
Oh, no kidding.
That's
Yes.
amazing.
Thanks, Trevor. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
So yes, thanks. And here are some questions from Trevor. What is one arc that you wished had gotten to happen? Is there any area of story you wish you could have explored?
I mean, and Philip and I had conversations about this. Like, I really wanted to get deeper into like the various gangs and factions within Stormreach. So like continuing to build out with Drago Thule and the Knights of Thrain and what's going on with Dragonheart and Red. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is a red? That's a good one. I know it's going to come up later in the questions, so I won't get too into the answer now, but Philip and I also had conversations about just having to let go of the Pog's dad arc, which he kind of brought up out of nowhere and got me all fired up. And then I was like, it just doesn't make sense. We can't. So yeah, that one.
It's not a full arc, but I definitely wanted to know what River was doing in the Age of Colseer. I, as an audience member, wanted to pursue what was happening there, but obviously, as a player, had to get things done.
Save the world.
It doesn't feel like profound on the scale of the campaign, but I really wish that I had made more time for stuff with the Red Ring. I thought the just goofy beef between Kolos and Pog was an enormous amount of fun. Yeah. It would have been fun to revisit the extra Red Ring fighters that we created for that one arc. Just that
The
that whole little
commentators.
side of the commentators.
Let's be honest
that-
about who starred that. It's the commentators.
That was so much fun.
Why do they keep
that is-
having athletic competitions in Stormreach? Everything goes completely haywire with terrorist attacks every time.
That really was one of my favorite, just entirely last minute ideas with Eric, was the Etten commentators. Like, that was just, I loved that. But yeah, so it would have been fun to dig into that a little more. I agree with all of the other answers, but that's one that I feel like dropped kind of in the earlier parts of the campaign, and I wish we'd had time to go back and look at it a little more. Are there any, similar question, are there any characters you wish to share that didn't get enough time? Basically, it's characters you wish had gotten more screen time.
My answer to that would go along with your answer to the previous question. I really enjoyed the character that I had created and played in the Red Ring, and I had these cool ideas of what she could do, and the dice just did not cooperate. And so that probably was my that's the character that I had the biggest disappointment. Like, I wish I could have served her well and played with her a little bit more.
Zot.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun that he's kind of the faceless villain in Bog's world. But it would have been fun for all the different interactions you and I had. We never got to just have like a straight up trash talking bicker. And that would have been fun. Especially because I don't think Zot knew that the rivalry existed.
Zot was unaware of the.
So that would have been fun.
For me, it definitely Forge, I think. Like, also because and it was just happened to be the timing. Like, Forge left when I was forced into sabbatical from the show due to my theater endeavors, and so yeah, it was just kind of a bummer to, like, this really interesting, cool character, and then come back and like, oh, he's gone now, and it's like, oh, bummer. So I really liked Forge as a character, and wish we could have gotten more of them.
Yeah. Man, the number of answers I have for this question is large. The most obvious answer for me is the Grimalkin kids. Getting to, it would have been fun to do a couple more episodes playing as the kids, and coming up with adventures for them. I really enjoyed all of the little forays we had into the young characters. That was always very fun. One character that just never got used at all, when I had everyone pick a good and a bad relationship, I think RA picked for Ezri a bad relationship with a very random NPC. I can't even remember his first name, but it's something Drum Doom, and he's like a street preacher who sits on the corner banging a drum and calling out the names of those who will soon die.
Whoa.
And
is
so
he right?
All right.
He's just a plot hook. Like, the idea is you're walking by and he just calls your name out or something like that. And with, especially as we got into the whole Mark of Death stuff, that was there, and I kept like knowing it was there, and I kept looking at it and thinking, there's a way. There's something perfect right here for this plot, and I never found it. So I wish I had gotten. I wish I'd found that thing, because that was such a weird character, and it was so in sync with what was going on with Ezri's world. So, will there be more frequent special guests appearing in the coming campaign? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe. I don't know.
Wait, you're doing another campaign?
Oh.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. After all the fun we've had.
Yeah.
You told him that you would tell him when I wasn't around, Philip. That was the agreement after I asked you to not include Colin.
This is what splits us into.
I suppose one answer is yes, although she won't be a special guest. Mia will be joining the cast as a regular member of the cast in the coming campaign. So we're extremely excited about that. But as far as guest appearances, I mean, sure, I'm down for that. I don't know. I don't have a plan yet. This is a good one. What's one thing you might change looking back now? Just in general, not in the campaign. I think Trevor's asking about life choices.
Oh, boy.
I got a lot of student
How
loans,
long
man.
are we doing this, KSA? I wouldn't have been so nervous from the outset because I spent probably the first 3 or 4 sessions just like, Philip and Eric think I belong here. I can do this. And then just the graciousness, especially of the strangers to me at the outset, RA and Casey, just accepting play and going, oh, okay, I'll try to be a little funny then. I wouldn't have been so nervous.
I think in general, I would have described what Shade was doing a little bit more often. She doesn't speak up a lot. And so there were these internal monologues I was having on her behalf, but it actually doesn't translate if you don't say anything. And so I think that there were a few instances where Shade would have had big feeling reactions, but she's just not super outspoken until she is, and then she's very outspoken. But I think I would have been a little bit more intentional about dropping just indications of how she was responding without having to interject verbally.
To your credit, Casey, I think you, outside of the maps that we use, you would be one of the biggest features as far as why we're best in video. Don't shortchange your reactions on facial expression. You played Shade's emotional state very well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Things that I would change. I early on, and I think it's just because I hadn't got to play D&D 5th edition ever before this campaign. I DM'd a lot, spent a lot of time in like the nuts and bolts mechanics of it, hence like Ari changing like subclasses and sub races and stuff, and all that was story driven. But like by the end of the campaign, I just kind of like relaxed on all of that stuff, and like because I kept going down in combat, so I was like, I need to fix this problem. And eventually I just hit a point where it's like, if it happens, it happens. I'm just gonna start enjoying the story and stop worrying so much about mechanically what's going on. So
gosh, again, this is one of those where I can think of lots of little places where I could have done something better. Doing it differently, I guess. I don't think that this ended up causing. I don't feel like this ended up causing problems in the campaign. But something that I have kind of learned about that is an interesting DM tool is doing a little more to ensure that everyone had the same idea of like tone and what the campaign's about, and doing a little bit more thorough of a session 0 with everyone, just to get everyone's like, this is what I really like about X-Men, and this is what I really like about it. I kind of just talk through some of those things ahead of time that might have made a difference. I don't know that it would have. I really liked the way the campaign went. So I'm not, this would have fixed a problem so much as it might have improved the cohesiveness of our story early on. So things like that, things that I just can imagine doing better to get ready for this, more than changing things about the story. Because I really liked the way the story went. And then lastly, Trevor inquires, oh, and where the heck is Puzzle Dust?
Where is Puzzle Dust?
Who?
Can I change my answer to the previous question? I do want to know more about Puzzle Dust.
The main villain of campaign 2, right? It's going to be a wild ride.
Oh man, building a campaign around a fairy dragon as the main villain would be, that's an amazing challenge.
That would be awesome.
Our next bunch of questions come from Emily. And the first one is amazing. Emily asks, Casey, Eric, and Colin, if there was ever an episode where you had to swap character sheets with one another, such as a body swap episode where you keep the mental stats of whomever you get swapped with, which other member of the Strike Force would you want to play? This hypothetical episode could take place at any point in the campaign that you'd like. So Ezra's on the table as a potential episode, as a potential answer. So Feywild body swap campaign episode. Who do you swap with if you get the pick?
Before the rest of us knew what the curse was, I would take Ari, because it'd be very funny to me for Pog to have to like go try to perform and not understand why nobody knew who he was when I was there the night before. And like, I think that would be very funny.
Yeah.
Gosh, my first thought was not Ari. Just
Rude.
I know it does. It sounds terrible, but just in terms of mechanics, Ari has the most moving pieces, and I would just slow the session so much, being like, what?
That's true.
I think I would probably enjoy switching with Ezri. Being able to, I love characters who have connections to nature. I enjoy that. And so Ezri already has that built in, but also just the creepy things that he could do to get others' reactions. That would be so much fun.
Whether he wanted to or not. Yeesh.
The correct answer is I would pick Shade, just to live in the glorious sun of being that connected to Cal for even a short amount of time. So
nice. Emily asks, what was up with the shadowy monster that Shade killed at 40 minutes and 1 second of episode 40?
Yeah, Philip, I've been thinking
40.
about that too.
It's eating me alive.
It seemed to be undead. I appreciated that because I had to go back and remember what this creature was, what creature I was using. It seemed to be undead, could figure out Shade and Ari's face secrets, and also force them to attack Ezri and Pog, and it wanted to share its secret, the same one that made it a monster, with Ezri. But otherwise, what was up with it?
I remember that.
Was it a result of the Zoriat rune in the basement? It was not a result of the Zoriat rune in the basement. The creature was an Alip. It's a type of undead in D&D and Pathfinder, and the premise of it is that this is a creature that died because it found out a secret that drove its former body absolutely insane, to the point of death. And the only way that it can escape its cursed existence is to tell the secret to someone else, and pass the madness on to them, in order to escape the cursed existence. Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
That's those were not the same words. Just to clarify,
He's not the horror fan, y'all. Just remember that.
And it was in the library, and my thought was that this had been what became of the previous owner of the mansion.
Oh.
Orlando.
Oh. Buddy.
Follow-up question.
Oh.
What's up with the Zoriat rune in the basement?
That question is somewhere in here.
Okay.
Yeah, we get there.
We can get there. I think it's Emily. But the Zoriat rune in the basement. So the control panel in the basement was an experiment in summoning things.
Oh.
And so
Horror.
part of the purpose of the various secure rooms in the basement and the contingency of the bottomless pit and all of these things was pulling monsters from other planes using this machine. And so the Zorat rune was obviously a very dangerous option there.
I retract my sadness for Orlando's demise because
were we just living above the warehouse from a cabin in the woods? Is that what you're telling me?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. And then Emily asks, has Ari fulfilled the deal with the cloaked figure who may or may not be the traveler? Or is that something that will come up in his future? So, the cloaked figure did not make a deal with Ari. The cloaked figure gave Ari a gift. He didn't ask Ari to do anything specific. He asked Ari if he wanted to go back. And Ari accepted a gift from this being.
which is
Who is the traveler?
which is why the feat was named Gift of the Traveler. Well, yeah.
If so, then the adage of Eberron is to beware the gifts of the traveler.
Yes. Spooky business and whatnot.
Yep. So why did this being want to do that with Ari?
Guess we'll never know.
Casey and Eric, what would Shade and Ari's wedding be like? Would it be basically the same thing as Pog and Solarka's wedding, albeit with different flowers, or something very different?
Same flowers. Run it back. Don't be cowards.
I get the sense that the instant Ari explains what the concept of eloping is, that would be what they would do. Like, Shade, like, we can do it without inviting anyone. Yes, let's do that.
Rude.
Yes, good answer. My first thought was like a fighting tournament. Like, how can we incorporate that into the celebration?
That's the Dothraki wedding, right? In Game of Thrones, it's not a good wedding unless 3 or more people have died.
Yep. That's so funny.
Pog and Solarka are going to have some things to say about y'all eloping, just for the record.
You'll be invited to the fighting tournament.
That's the reception that the couple does when they get back from the wedding. There
you go. In the Red Ring. Rent out the Red Ring.
We are filthy rich. That would be
true.
possible.
We are very, very
rich. Just buy the Red Ring for the events.
Yes.
Eric, why did you decide to have Ari remain a Hexblood after breaking the pact?
Because Ari found a good deal of connection once he and Shade both learned that they were Fae. He felt a certain level of connection with her over that, and he didn't want to get rid of that. Like, it was trying to like symbolize the fact that like Ari's connection to his new family was more important than his connection with his old family. Like, Half Elf is who he was, Hexblood is who he became. So
cool.
Family.
That is cool.
Colin, in the time between saving the Stormlords and the wedding, do you think Pog ever decided to confront his dad?
No, I do not. Before the time travel, it was definitely a pressing matter on his mind. But after you travel and you see a future that bleak, I feel like like Pog came back and was very, very existent in his present. There's not a whole lot in the past that he wants to dig up, seeing what the future can be. Focus on just making the best future possible. So I think, disappointingly for Colin, Pog would have let it go and gone, no, it's good where I am today.
Cool. What madness consequence would Arandis have given Ari if he failed the saving throw for contact other plane? Yeah. I was going to have Ari's mind. The consequence of contact other plane is some form of madness, but it doesn't necessarily have to come from the entity you attempted to contact. And so we had established essentially a possible future. And so I was going to have Ari's mind essentially forget that he was a time traveler.
Oh,
And, basically just produce a memory that Ari had lived through all of this, had always been here.
God, that would have been annoying to deal with.
Yeah, so that was sort of my thought on what I could have done there. There was a different time where I also thought about, I don't remember what this was from. Maybe this was maybe this was back with Ezri, of a madness that essentially allowed Arandis to swap your mind with that of a dead person of her choosing. And so, you suddenly become Karn the Conqueror or something. And so, but yeah, no, I had in mind to basically just suddenly cause Ari to become post-apocalyptic Ari.
Misery.
Yeah. So
I don't even know how I would have roleplayed that.
Well, you just become the Dark Dementus is what happens. Colin, when you first decided that Pog would romance Solarka, did you think he would marry her within the span of the campaign?
Absolutely not. No way. I literally just thought it would be funny to act flustered when Philip described this Goliath woman walking up, and then I kind of wanted to flirt with Philip just because I'd come into being more confident, and yeah, he has that effect. Have you seen this hair? And so I literally was just trying to goof around a little bit, and it was a lot of fun. And I definitely thought Solarka was going to break up with Pog at several points over the course of the campaign, and
she would have been very justified in doing
yeah,
right?
No, I can't believe it didn't happen.
Patience of a saint. That was
wild.
There were some places where I was like, this has to, but
yeah.
I have to go
Eric,
grab my charger. My computer's about to die. I'm so sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Eric, does Ari still attend his book club? If yes, does he go in disguise or as himself?
Ari absolutely still attends his book club and probably just has them come to his office. Like, I mean, it's, he can do what he wants. He's a Stormlord now. Even if it's an anarcho, anti-establishment book club,
Yeah, I probably lost some members when it was taking place in a Stormlord's office.
But no, I'll change things from the inside, you guys. You don't understand. Institutions don't corrupt individuals. Like,
I hate it.
Casey, what made you decide that Shade would reciprocate Ari's feelings?
I had a conversation with Eric about this. I had not decided until the time jump when Ari was struggling with just the guilt and the emotional mental struggle with that. It was the first time that Shade realized that she had something to offer in the relationship. from her perspective. Obviously, I don't think Ari viewed her that way. But Shade viewed her only contribution essentially as a bodyguard, and that's that that isn't much different from every other relationship that she has. And so just seeing that, I'm trying to figure out how to word it. Shade viewed the relationship as unbalanced, that Ari was providing more than Shade, and that Shade depended too much on Ari for guidance. Almost like yeah, just that he had more to contribute than she did. And I think that was the first time that she realized that she also contributed something to him, that she could help him, and that he didn't have everything figured out, that he still struggled with things, and that was something that they could work through together.
Awesome. For all of you, if your character had died in the Age of Kulsir, this close.
Sorry to rob you.
Well, this is one of the reasons I like. Emily has tapped into why I felt a little disappointed. It's like, here's this moment where I could really just straight up kill one of these characters, and there's potentially no consequences. If your character had died in the Age of Kulsir, which member of the Resistance would you have liked to play? Alternately, do you have an idea for what sort of PC from the Age of Kulsir you would have liked to play?
I think I would have taken Tommel, because it would have been very fun to go from playing Pog, who so desperately loved his companions, to someone so very on the outside of that dynamic, especially if it had been Pog that died and then I was playing Tommel trying to like work with the other two. That would not have been a great time. That would have been a lot of fun to just take on the challenge of.
Yeah.
And I could have killed him.
Okay, got this character. I immediately run to the nearest cliff and just dive off.
You have wings.
I'm so sorry, I realized I was wrong.
I need a list.
I think go ahead.
No, you're good. Go.
I think Merrick's would have been rad to play as.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Like,
you would have done a good job with that.
The Artificer just would have been really, really cool.
I couldn't handle that character sheet.
You would have done that well because you would have understood all of the movie character touch tones that I had for that interpretation of Merrick's, which was primarily Moriarty from the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes and Morden Solus from the Mass Effect trilogy.
Yes, which would have been so fun.
I keep thinking Professor, what's it, Flamewind?
Flamewind?
Mm.
Yeah. Because how do you
and
pass
your
up playing a
sphinxes.
sphinx? I know. That's like,
Awesome. Yeah, that would have been really cool.
How do you pass
Most
that
women grew
up?
up horse girls. Casey grew up a sphinx girl.
That's awesome. Then, are there any bits of lore about your respective Grimalkin students that never got to come up that you'd like to share with us?
I mean, this is an Age of Kulsir thing that I meant to tell Philip, and then it didn't come up until after Kara's brief cameo. I wanted, because she was from Arenal, I was gonna have her be a phantom rogue, and they're all about like ghosts that companion you and stuff. And I was going to say that she figured out a way to break Jalaire out of the bust, and so Jalaire was like her ghost companion that fueled all of her powers. And I thought that would be really fun.
That was a really cool idea.
That's
I wish
awesome.
we'd gotten to play with that. Yeah, that was a really neat idea. I liked that a lot.
I don't think I have one.
That's okay.
I mean, Pip kind of lore dumped at the start there,
Right?
And we saw all the.
So here's my whole deal. No, I was intentionally very reserved when making Kara, just because I know myself so well that I was like, I can't make a character I would rather be playing. Like, I need
Right.
Ari to still be the character I'm excited to play. So I'm
Mhm.
going to give her why she is at the school, a basic personality, and that's it. So
Opposite. I wanted to play the character that didn't shut up. I just really wanted to push those bounds.
I think for Nasaria, the only thing is that I would want to emphasize that she struggled with her choices
she's a dirty
in the Age
traitor.
of
Is that-
Coulter. I know. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. There was an internal struggle there. She didn't just
Mhm.
jump ship, but
Real long one. Real long thought process she went through.
Another question for all of you. If the campaign had gone to level 20, how would you build your character? Any classes you would add? Call anyone another multi-class?
No. No, because I wouldn't get a third attack no matter how hard I tried to pitch it to you. I worked every angle to get a third attack out of this man, and it just no.
I'm trying to think what level fighters get their third attack, if there were enough levels left for that.
No,
If there is a third
wouldn't.
attack, it's just
Yeah,
way
but
up in the fighter.
it's way up there.
It's like 17 or something, so it's probably too long. Yeah.
Boy, that's a wild question.
I know I'm looking at my character sheet.
That's
real
okay.
Cow.
quick.
I had unmultied my classes, so I just would have stuck with Hexblade the whole way. Like I had gone back to a singular class build and was content with that. So there were some really cool things coming up on the horizon if we would have kept going, but yeah.
If it would have been an opportunity where we hit 20 like right before the fight, then I might have done the same.
Yeah.
And just built the meanest rage barb. But I don't. Boy, that's a wild. I wish I had read that question hours ago. I don't have a good answer.
That's okay.
I don't either.
That's all right.
Hell of a question, man. I wasn't expecting to make it as far as we did character level wise.
Okay. The next one, Eric. Ari didn't think it was a good idea for Arlo to wear a beard to the wedding. Did Ari shave his beard for the wedding?
Ari was just giving Arlo crap like that. Like, in fact, yeah, I'm sure Ari had a full, well-groomed beard, and so it was even more confusing for Arlo. Like, beard, really? Like, but
oh yeah,
I'm a Stormlord, Arlo. Of course, I can wear a beard.
Aristocratically sharpened edges along your cheeks.
Oh yeah. Eric, if I recall correctly, in a past KSA, I can't remember which one, but it was between Hirazi and Ari dying. You said there was someone that Ari didn't want to remember him and that he wouldn't say the incantation in front of them. Who was this person? And I'm going to add, if you remember.
I do. Sarah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
See if my fellow players remember who Sarah is. No? Blank looks? Yeah. Ari's love that died in the that he thought died in the morning, but he never got confirmation. And so if it was mostly if she rolled up and he saw that she had like a family, like he saw her with like on the arm of someone, he would have allowed himself to remain forgotten because it wouldn't have done anyone any good for her to remember him at that point. So, except for Ari, but that's selfish. So,
Oh,
thank you.
Question for me that actually ties to a couple of different questions later on. In the Age of Coulter wrap-up KSA, you indicated that Arandis might not have chosen to resurrect Ezri a third time. Did she force him to remain in an undead state as a way of controlling him? I imagine he might have been more susceptible to being charmed without his Kori, considering how disoriented he was without Nosher on the first time he died. though that may have mostly just been the being dead part. And then later, Laura asks about the twist to the Ezri Arandis plot that I never got to use. And here is the twist to the Ezri Arandis plot.
Here we go.
The reason Mirabella took some blood at the very beginning was not just for verifying what he claimed to be, though that was part of it. It's because you need some of a person to make a clone. Mirabella is a very high-level wizard, and she took that blood and she used it to cast clone. And so when Ezri died in the Siege of Stormreach, which he did, he woke up in the body of the clone that Mirabella had made for him and shipped to Arandis.
Whoa.
It was my twist for the next time I manage to kill Ezri. Resurrection won't work. Nobody will have any idea why. And then we cut to you wake up on a bed.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was not. It was true that Ezri died in the Age of Colseer. And what Arandis had was a clone of Ezri. She had basically just transferred Ezri's consciousness into a cloned body.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yep.
Love it.
Yep.
Not the horror fan. Watch out to remember that when he describes these torturous situations.
Right.
Eric, does Ari still live at Grimalkin Manor? And Casey, if Ari has moved out upon becoming Stormlord, would Shade move with him? Or would she want to give him space, at least for a few weeks, and thus also stay close enough to give the kids random fire drill pop quizzes?
Ari was going to move out of Grimalkin regardless of becoming a Stormlord or not. He was ready to not be living there anymore. So, yeah.
I think Shade keeps residences at both locations.
That
think
makes
she absolutely
perfect sense.
Yeah.
Having a go bag in a couple of different places is good. Good disaster prep.
Those are the ones you know about.
I just love the progression of when we left them. Shade was basically already living in Ari's room with him, just on the balcony in a hammock. So like, I could just easily see the scene playing of Ari getting home back to his new place like a couple weeks after moving out, and Shade's just there with a bunch of her stuff, and like the conversation hadn't happened. It's like, what? Like,
that's fully valid.
Colin and Philip. Would Solarka move in with Pog at the school, Pog with Solarka and her family, or the two move into a new place all together, or if not new, then maybe the treehouse?
Okay. There was a time, and I think
you
and I talked about this. That's true. You and I had kind of talked about this. Eric and I talked extensively about that Pog was about to leave the manor. And my initial thought,
Shade, obviously,
my initial thought had been stay above the bar and then work out what it would take to afford the treehouse. That has long been my thought of where it would be ideal to start this family. And it was one thing for Solarka to come stay the night that time, but no, we're not going to be a married couple living in the manor.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, no.
You don't want to Scott and Jean it?
Not going to Scott and Jean this. No, no, that's super weird.
Second question from on this topic: where are Pog and Shade taking their honeymoon?
Wow, what a
Pog and
twist for
Solarka.
Pog and Shade to have gotten secretly married at this wedding. Solarka was blindsided.
Give me a
by this
break. I
change.
wrote a lot of things down here. Where are Pog and Solarka taking their honeymoon? In a past Q&A, Solarka, NPC Q&A, Solarka mentioned wanting to visit the Mror Holds with Pog, but would they decide on that or another location?
Is that where Solarka wants to go? That's
Solarka,
the genuine Pog answer.
It's the opposite of Storm. It's the opposite of Zendrick. And so Solarka's like Wanderlust kind of thing is this place is a high, cold mountain fjord, essentially. That sounds amazing.
Perfect. If that's her pitch, there's no place. It's only been a year since we come back. Like wherever she wants to go. Yes, that's where we're going. I just want to get married. It's just marry me. That's all. The rest you can plan. So yeah, the Maror holds.
Nice. Jody asks, Philip and or Colin, what happened with Pog's dad?
Nothing.
Nothing. I introduced it mostly because I really knew it would throw Colin, and I was interested to see what he would do with it. And it was a sort of lingering thing from Pog's past. And I thought it would be cool to give Colin just the choice of whether he wanted that confrontation or whether he wanted to have the character choice be Pog's outgrown that. And obviously events spiraled very quickly and prevented us from messing with that a lot. But I really like the answer Colin gave earlier, that this is just, that's the past and Pog's going forward.
Yeah, if we'd have had 3 days before the spiral, then we would have seen a very interesting confrontation. But who cares? This is Pog's answer today. He's a non-issue.
Yeah. Then Laura asks, did you expect the campaign to go for this long? I don't really know. I don't know what the length I had in mind was.
No.
Yeah, that's
I did not.
There was definitely a point several months ago where I was like, oh, we must finish by this date.
Time to wrap this thing up.
We were moving close, but it was close enough that I was like, we are too close to the end to just suddenly have a player need to disappear for a while. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, because, it's D&D 5e. Those campaigns tend to, like, we made it to high level play without making it all the way to 20. So it felt like the right amount of length, if that makes sense. I think it's around the same amount of time that Eberron Renewed campaign 1 went. Certainly level wise, I think it's exactly where we ended up. But
I think we ended up a little higher in Eberron Renewed. So I think you gave us 2 or 3 levels in rapid succession at the end. Because I think Barrick was maybe 17.
Okay. So yeah. But I wasn't shocked by the length that it ended up going, I guess is the easiest way to put it.
Mine is such imposter syndrome. Like, I was so confident that we would get started and all of y'all would be like, ooh, okay. Well, we need to get rid of that one.
No shot.
So if I could just quote
else.
Liz Lemon here and say opposite.
Yeah, it definitely didn't occur to me that I would get to participate this long.
Yeah, at the pitch, and again, going back to my nervousness of playing with people who have done this for so long, I didn't expect that I was signing up to a game that was going to be allowed to have so much character time. I mean, there was a spree there where we had a couple sessions in a row with no dice.
We refused to do the plot, and it killed Philip. We just wanted to talk about our feelings.
We got lost in role play, and that's just not what I was expecting at the pitch of this. Hey, I want you to play D&D, and we're going to record it. So no, I definitely didn't think we were going to push up 3 years.
Yeah. What are the hardest turns the plot has ever taken due to player input? There's two things that come to mind. One is the run of episodes where the players refuse to move. Right after the initial confrontation with Falco, and everybody runs into the woods and spends the entire night blaming each other for what just went down, and convinced the second they walk back into town they're going to immediately be murdered, and considering whether they need to leave Stormreach completely. And then instead of returning to town and deciding to go, let's go to the tents of Roshime. And I just, all of these things that it's the episode where I throw my notebook. It's the episode where I'm just like, all right, I'm just making it up. Here we go.
It's good content from your end there, though.
I really thought this is going to be a really fun, mad, chaotic fight because we've got multiple chases going on. We're on the rooftops. We're in the alley. And then due to the way the party got split, when we have the thing on fire and everybody's run and Ari comes in, and there's no way for me to describe what happened without allowing Ari to think everybody's dead. It got, I mean, you guys can see the tone I was going for. I had a necromancer chasing you along the roof with some zombies and a shovel. Like, that was the tone I was after. And it just went so everywhere else. And that I was obviously not ready for, and just had to kind of make it up. And then the other is you guys just told the White Raven where the sword was.
I couldn't believe that moment.
I thought this is the thing he can ask that's going to make this fight happen. This is going to be a great fight, and he's going to ask this thing that they'll never give him.
I was so excited for that fight.
And I don't think I covered it well. I think when you guys did it, I don't think I covered well how absolutely at a loss I was as to what this meant.
We were just all so tired by that point. So the characters were up against it. It was just like, whatever.
I know.
Sure. Go get the sword. I hate that guy anyway. If you kill him, super.
Well, and we knew, right? I mean, didn't we joke about how that'll never come back after this?
Yeah. Yeah, I think y'all knew very quickly after. I don't know that everyone realized in the moment what was happening, but yeah, maybe Eric. I don't know, because the lore is right there. But yeah. So those would be the two. Those are definitely the two that come to my mind. There's a lot of places where y'all did something just entirely unexpected, and it changed the plot. Those are the two where I had the hardest time knowing what happens next. There are plenty of others, but it was, usually I could adapt.
The hardest turn for me as a player is when we left Stormreach. I was like, like we're leaving the playground all of a sudden. Okay. Oh crap. And then that adventure went so well for everyone that we never left again.
That was a great adventure. That was so much fun.
That was so good.
That was a wild moment when you asked us to take our headphones off so that you could talk to Eric, and I was like, oh no, I've seen Critical Role. This goes bad.
Mm-hmm. Do y'all ever miss the treehouse?
Yeah.
Asks Laura.
Yeah.
Simpler times.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's the most important thing your character learned this campaign? Like personal growth wise, not like kill Colseer before he destroys the world. Laura also inquires about everyone's favorite arc and favorite NPC.
None of us are going to give the answer you want. Just spoilers.
For the record. Is there a least favorite question attached to this as well? Because we could unanimously vote that one. Trust would be what Pog probably learned the most. Wasn't a natural thing for him. Didn't always work out well, but it was always worth the risk, even in the situations where he found himself hurt. And he still, those relationships recovered. So to trust the people that you love would be the moral.
I smirked when you gave that answer, and not because it was a funny answer, but it was literally what I was thinking for Shade in the moment as well. It took Shade a very long time, and I think, I don't know. I hope this isn't vain. I think I'm proud of the way that I played her growth in that. I think it came about naturally in our game of make-believe, in the events that happened and where she started to trust her friends, and then also, she'd backpedal a little bit, but I think trusting that her friends mean what they say was big for her.
Yeah, and I think I mean it's silly that like I saw this question beforehand and thought about it, and I mean Ari's answer is also trust, just in a very different like Ari like had to grow to realize that he doesn't need Pog and Shade don't need taking care of. Ari doesn't have to be the one coming up with ideas, because they are also equally as capable and smart of like coming up with plans and ideas and things like that. And so I think that was the big growing thing throughout everything for Ari, was just being able to like relinquish control and trust the people that he has chosen to have around him to, yeah. So.
Anyone have a favorite arc?
Everybody knows my answer. Anytime we went to the Feywild.
Yeah.
That's just my jam. I love it.
I feel so bad giving this answer because Eric wasn't there.
Yeah, the one we got to play without Eric. That's our favorite time.
Oh my God, that was so. Yeah, I don't know. That's got to be my answer. I'm so sorry, Eric.
When I got to go to the Feywild without anyone else, it was just me and Philip. That was my favorite arc.
I will say I really do like Ari in Wonderland. Like that
yes,
is
that was a very
those
fun.
little snippets were I mean, on the one hand, it was so much more like almost a little scripted in that I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to happen in each little section of it, but it was just fun to be very silly with those.
No, my favorite arc was the first. I don't know if it was the first verse, but stopping the shipment from getting into Stormreach that turned out to be the vampire spawn, just because it was the first time that we got to feel X-Men-y. Like we were a group on a mission for a school, like, and you could just kind of feel that energy in the combat that we all kind of wanted to play that opening sequence of an X-Men cartoon where we were working together, and like the vignette of shifting from one character to the other. It was just it was a moment where like the concept of the campaign finally was realized, I guess is the easiest way to put it.
Yeah. I think the one I had the most fun
answer.
playing.
Thank you.
I think the one I had most fun playing probably was the Vampire Blade, like chasing that. I love that adventure. It's extremely fun to run. Not having made it up, it's extremely fun to run and adjust, and it was fun to adjust to fit our story.
That was a lot of fun to play because you gave so many opportunities for bold decisions.
Yeah,
that thing went off the rails in so many directions.
it just keeps running. Like, it comes hard and fast. I like that a lot. And I mean, I'm very proud of any time we went to the Feywild, any of the times, like, because I feel like I really set a tone, and I really did a good job designing that world. And that bit of the world is more me than Stormreach in a way, because it's not defined like Stormreach is. And so any of the times when we went after River, when we went after with Ari lost in the Feywild, with Shade Poggoff in the Feywild, all of those I thought were just an enormous amount of fun to play with the various narrative tropes in that. And a favorite NPC?
I feel like my obvious answer would be cheating, because it's gotta be Solarka.
The one you married?
Kolos. I had a lot of fun just as a young character trying to peacock. Like, I was just, and then getting lost in him being irritated at the attention that Pog was getting. It was very fun to get to play up against.
I feel like my answer is cheating and also obvious, but I love River.
Mm-hmm.
Not only not because of Shade's interactions with her, just as a character, her story, her growth. I mean, that's absolutely a story I would have gravitated towards as a kid. Like, if that was the book in the library, that's the one I'm reading multiple times. I just love her character. And then I love how her story in a way mirrored ours. The desire for growth, the desire for community, protecting others. Just, I thought that was a cool parallel.
I probably would have to go with Arandis, just because this is also kind of feels like cheating, but I know the affinity you have for that NPC, and also having seen you roleplay a version of that NPC before, and seeing that NPC come to life again in a different context, and how seeing the similarities but also the stark differences in that character between now and then was really fun to watch and really fun to role play against. So
yeah. Obviously this is very hard to pick as the person who honestly didn't actually create most of the NPCs. Most of the NPCs I just swiped right out of various Eberron books, but I got to embody them. I really loved the duo of Thora and Dane. Like, I really loved, even though I studiously avoided sticking them in the same room and forcing myself to have arguments with myself, I enjoyed getting to interact the two sides of that debate. Come on, man.
My first time recording.
I really enjoyed the getting to play out the two sides of that debate, even though often separately and separated in time. Cadric, the kids in general, but Cadric especially, was fun to develop and to play a fan of the characters. And yeah, Puzzle Dust, honestly, because it took very little work. Because I didn't intentionally create that voice. It's just what happened. And it was very easy to play him because, like many of the Feywild characters I created, you just don't really answer anything. Like, you just don't actually answer. You say something that's kind of mysterious, maybe slightly alarming, but that doesn't really answer the question. And that it's really easy formula and fun.
Puzzle Dust was, as a player, I mean this in the nicest way possible, the most frustrating character because as Philip knows, because I've played many, many RPGs with him, but I do not like unanswered questions, and I don't like plot anchors that don't get explored. Like, I'm the one who wants to go in every room and turn over, and Shade obviously isn't that character, and so she was hard to play. But Puzzle Dust is the one that, as a player, I wanted so badly to just always pursue him and ask more questions and find out like what he was doing and where he was. And as a character, she just didn't care.
All right. Next one is, what was Avia doing under the Rubble Warren? In spite of the fact of how long ago this was, I know exactly what the answer to this is and didn't have to look it up. Avia is the House Vatalis agent that you guys rescued from the Kruthic monsters under there. She was gathering samples for Tyrus for his project that would eventually result in the creation of the bioweapon monster that tried to eat you all.
But we stopped it.
Well, no, you saved her.
Yeah, we
stopped the bioweapon also.
That's true. You did stop the bioweapon.
Samples. Yeah.
Oh, she got the samples.
No.
Just anyway. Colin said Philip was the only one who understood why the relationship between Pog and Mrs. B was so important. Is there more than what we learned from his backstory?
I said that?
Apparently.
Oh.
I assume it's the connection to Pog's mother.
Yeah, it's
and the loss of a mother.
Because that would have been before we told the backstory. So it was a maternal figure. That he just, it's all he had and then had nothing in that role. And so that's a dynamic that was very fun to play. It was just the person he could go and talk to and be wrong to and hear that he was wrong, because everybody else in his circle at the time was a peer. And especially at the moments of tension with Ari or bickering with Ezri, and Shade and Pog both having the same kind of feelings about emotions. It was nice for him to have an adult.
Yeah. Did Ari ever take vengeance / think about taking vengeance on House Jurasco?
I
mean, I assume thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely thought about it. But Ari equal parts, he understood that the problem was bigger than Jurasco, but he definitely would have gotten vengeance on the healer that refused to do anything. Ari's vengeance is either very big or very small. It's never mid-range. So yeah, Ari, that created a sense of distrust for all of the houses in Ari, and also specific individuals. But if that, I hope that makes sense. So
yeah, no, that makes sense. In KSA 100, Philip said there were consequences of Hirazi flipping back time. What were they? It made Kulsir aware of her. The very first time that she went back in time to save Ari, it alerted Kulsir to her presence. That was the intention of the scene when Ezri went back to look through the ruins to try and get Tyrus's head. I meant to ask R.A. what he wanted with the head. But that
speak with dead, probably, if I had to
probably
guess.
Yeah. But yeah, Kulsir was there, and he made some comment of sensing her power or something like that. There was some kind of vague comment, a vaguely menacing comment, that was the intention. Yeah, going back in time using the time machine allowed Kulsir to realize that Hirazi was still alive, and that there was in fact still a time machine out there. Also, I mentioned an Ezri / Arandis twist that that wouldn't be able to come up after RA left the campaign. That's the clone. Did the Forest Queen give Shade her mark? Casey?
Oh, do I get to just decide that?
Sure.
Because I did not choose as a player. Just
Yeah.
yeah.
There you go.
I'm going with
Casey
yes.
thinks so.
Right.
Colin.
Sir.
This isn't a question. Please play Pip in the next game. Thank you. Maybe his alternate grown-up self, because I think his time with Sam will have softened him a bit on animals.
No, I don't think I will.
This is a fun one. I included this one just because I don't know if any of you know this. Did you ever consider, this is to me, did you ever consider using Harish's secret from the source book? Eric, do you know this?
Harish's? No, I don't recall.
So the wonderful thing about the Stormreach book is there's a whole bunch of places where, so if you're running a D&D campaign in Eberron and you're using one of the source books that Keith Baker had a hand in, don't use all of the plot hooks. Don't do it. There's too many.
Yeah.
Like, the whole point is he just throws dozens and dozens and dozens of fascinating plot hooks in. They aren't all true. Any of them could be true. Anyway, so the one with Harish is that Harish is actually a disguised Rakshasa working for the demon overlord that lives under Stormreach.
Whoa. Whoa.
Did I ever consider using that? I totally considered it. Like when I read that and I had Harish as an NPC already, and Casey had already said that she had a good relationship with Harish. I totally considered using that, but decided I didn't want to do an overlords scenario. Like I didn't want to get into the demonic overlords thing, and so no, didn't. And boy, I'm really glad, because I don't know what that reveal would have done to Shade, and what the consequences would have been for this game. But
Her brain
I'm real
would
glad
have
that I didn't do
melted
that.
out of her ears.
But yeah, that's one of the proposed subplots in the Stormreach book. So yeah.
Whoa.
In episode 10, Colin said that the leather blanket was from an animal that wouldn't usually be leather. What was it?
I have no idea.
The most dangerous game.
The point of this though was, but the point of this was that was like, it was the scorched blanket, right? It was from Pog's mark manifesting, and burning the house down.
It was, I guess, heirloom is how you would call it. It was a remnant. I thought it was funny to act like you had killed in leather. We'll say alligator. You don't usually turn that into leather. I get, well, maybe you do.
Yeah, alligator boots.
Kangaroo.
There you go.
I don't think they leather them very often.
This is addressed specifically to sorry BTR, the O is a 0.
I'm familiar
now
with his
that
work.
now that you've played a full campaign, are you ready to run some one shots for us next game?
No. I think I could probably run some of the pre-existing ones. Like I could probably handle running an adventure. This, and having played a campaign proper, gives me a newfound respect for the rapid fire rate at which y'all's imaginations are capable of working. I'm pretty funny as far as like coming up with things on the spot, but y'all's ability to roll with punches and turn a story, especially in moments of consequence and drama, no shot. Yeah, it's not. No, that's terrifying. I'm really glad the two of y'all enjoy it as much as you do, but good Lord, keep that responsibility away.
I'll work on it, Laura. Casey, I was going to say you should start a podcast, but it was pointed out that you're raising 2 tiny humans, so maybe you could just join a podcast instead?
I will take
Right
it
now.
into consideration. Thank you.
Casey, what have you never gotten into?
It's got to be something that Casey could guess.
There has to be.
That Casey's got to be the expert on.
I believe I have already made a suggestion, but
Oh, no.
Repitch.
I've forgotten.
Repitch.
What did you suggest?
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh yeah, okay, that's right. Yeah, we need to get Casey on for our Avatar one.
You have to come up with the list. I'm not watching 36
Yeah, we've
years
gotta,
of
like,
Avatar.
We've got to like.
You can give us the
condense
top
it
20
somehow.
You can.
And I believe that's how the conversation went. And
it
I was
was.
like, how do
That
you
may have been.
choose? They're all so important.
Just watch the movie. That condenses it all down really well, right?
Nerds at least know that much.
Man, the sad thing is that's the only Avatar I've seen.
Ooh.
It's not my fault.
We
It's
should
not
get
my
Casey
fault.
into that movie. Just make her watch that for an episode.
Oh no, no,
Just an hour of her
no.
crying on our podcast.
That doesn't sound fun at all. Finally, in all caps, and I'm not going to shout.
Uh-oh.
And what happened to Tommel? What do you mean?
Nobody
Thora
cares. Nobody cares.
we know Thora sent him to Sharn with Dane. Thora sent him to Sharn with Dane. He's in Sharn.
Wait, Tommel's not in the basement?
Yeah,
What?
he's in, Thora sent him to Sharn with Dane. Dane took him to Sharn, and he obviously wasn't invited to the wedding.
Ari shipped ahead
True.
to him. I mean, he did send
That's
a
true.
gift. Like,
I got you this.
Oh, I have to point something out. I'm so glad you said that because I have to point something out. When Ari was trying to figure out how to woo Shade, he went to the Moon Spears and was told that Soleil had wooed Zenaida by killing a dangerous enough foe and proving himself capable and worthy of her. And at least from Ari's perspective, because Ari was not watching Shade react to Cadric and Ilya, Ari killed, like Ari, they defeated Kulsir, and then Ari killed and beheaded, then Ari, destroyed Mirren, and then Shade kissed him and told him she loved him.
Soleil had it.
Perfect.
Yep.
Boy.
Soleil knew exactly
with
what
the
needed to be
experts.
done all along.
Amazing.
Sounds like Colin needs to have a question for the next NPC KSA.
And I realized that as I was reading through these a while ago, and it was like, I love it because obviously couldn't have planned that.
Yeah.
Just the timing of it was spectacular. Anyway, believe it or not, that is all of the player questions that we received. Thank you all so much. This was enormous fun. We will announce things. There were some questions about when the next thing, what the next thing, who the next thing. We will answer those questions.
I'm just now
in
learning
time.
about this. So I hope they have fun.
I have to have an awkward conversation with Colin.
We will this
So,
time now. So
So we'll get to that later. In the meantime, you can
Can I
find
just
links to all of
salute
our
and
social
leave?
media down below, to the merch store, to the Discord, to Colin's Twitch where he is sorry BTR, the O is a 0, to the Geek Pantheon YouTube channel where Eric posts TTRPG videos, to the Eberron Renewed podcast where you can hear me and Eric playing other TTRPGs, and yes, to the I Never Got Into That podcast where you can hear Colin and I talking about fandoms and maybe Casey convincing us that Avatar is awesome. I don't have any reason to believe Avatar is not awesome, but
I just believe Casey in general, so sure.
that's fair.
Excellent.
That's fair.
That's a privilege that's about
anyway.
to get abused.
Oh man, I can't say anything. Man, there are no new episodes of Khyber Shards. There will be another KSA with my half of the questions that weren't specifically related to player characters, and that'll drop this Monday. And then there will be more from the Laughing Tree, and we will let you know very soon when and what that will look like. But in the meantime, thank you all for rolling with us.